Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're tackling a question we hear a lot. Is Block a good time to buy right now? The company behind Square and Cash App. We've looked at the numbers, the analysis. Our goal today is really to cut through all that noise and figure out what actually matters for this company. Give you the important stuff. And hey, before we jump in, a quick note to you listening. If you get something out of this discussion, maybe consider subscribing or liking or leaving a comment. It honestly helps us reach more people. You could even think about buying us a coffee if you feel like it. Link's probably somewhere nearby. Also, if there's a specific company you want us to look into, drop it in the comments after we finish up with Block today. Okay, so Block. Let's get into it. We've looked at this from a few angles, right? Short-term trading, long-term investing picture. Let's start with the basics, the fundamentals. How healthy is the company really?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's kind of interesting right away is Block's top-line growth. It's pretty solid. For 2024, revenue came in at $24.12 billion, which is a decent jump, about 10.06% from $21.92 billion the year before in 2023.
Right, so they're still growing the overall business.
Exactly. And profitability-wise, looking at the last 12 months, their net income is around $2.61 billion. That gives them an EPS earnings per share of 4.12, which is, quite impressive.
4.12 EPS. That sounds promising. But here's where it often gets tricky, right? What about the future performance, the near-term stuff?
That's a key question, definitely, because this raises an important point about what's expected now. The latest earnings, Q1 of 2025, actually, they missed estimates by quite a bit.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They came in at $0.56 for EPS, but the street was expecting $0.87.
Oof, yeah, that's a pretty big gap.
It is. And on top of that, the estimates for the next quarter, Q2 2025, they've actually been lowered recently, moved down from about $11.25 per share to $0.22.
So that suggests maybe some caution, some headwinds in the short term.
Precisely. It signals a more, let's say, conservative outlook on earnings coming up.
Okay, so beyond just the raw numbers, what about Block's position? In the industry, what makes them stand out? What's their edge?
Well, if you connect this to the bigger picture, Block operates through these really strong brands. Everyone knows Square, right?
Yeah.
And Cash App.
Yeah, huge names.
Huge. And they're not just separate things. They're building this whole integrated commerce and financial ecosystem. They've got payments, software solutions, even getting more into Bitcoin-related products.
Right. The Bitcoin angle is interesting.
It is. And all this together gives them a really solid competitive moat, a barrier against competitors in fintech and payments. It's hard to replicate that whole ecosystem.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Now let's talk price, valuation. How does Block's current stock price stack up against what it might actually be worth?
Right, valuation. So if we look at the standard metrics, Block's PE ratio, price to earnings, is sitting at 17.65.
17.65. How does that compare?
Well, what's notable is that it's actually below quite a few of its fintech peers, which, could potentially suggest it's a bit undervalued relative to them.
Potentially.
But then you look at the forward PE, which is based on expected future earnings, and that's higher at 24.39.
Okay. So past earnings look cheaper, future earnings maybe less so.
Right.
What are the analysts saying? Where do they see the price going?
Yeah, good question. The consensus price target from analysts right now is around $72.14.
72. Wait, isn't that almost exactly where it's trading now?
It is. Very close to the recent price, around $72.
So analysts aren't seeing much upside in the near term, though.
It implies that, maybe limited upside from current levels, according to the average analyst target.
Okay. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Technical analysis. What are the charts saying? What's the recent price action been like?
Well, recently, say on July 18th, Block shares were trading in a pretty narrow band, like between $71.17 and $73.25, roughly.
So kind of stuck in a range.
Yeah, consolidation. And it's also worth noting, this price level, it's closer to the lower end of its 52-week range. That full range goes from about $44.27 way up to $99.26. So it's come down quite a bit from the highs.
Right. And how jumpy is this stock? How volatile is it?
Yes, volatility. This is where Block is pretty interesting. Its beta is around 2.74.
2.74. Wow, that's high.
It's significantly higher than the market average, yeah. A beta over 1 means it tends to move more than the overall market. 2.74 means it's like almost 3 times as volatile.
So bigger swings up and down.
Exactly. And you combine that high beta with the recent earnings misses we talked about and that flat analyst price target, It suggests maybe more near-term pressure, or at least some sideways chop. Definitely lives up to the volatility.
Okay. So what about recent news? Sentiment. What's buzzing around Block right now?
Well, the main story really is that Q1 earnings miss we discussed, that and the fact that the Q2 estimates are coming down.
Right. That definitely puts a damper on things.
It could, yeah. It might temper some of the bullish feeling, especially with the next earnings call scheduled for August 7th. Everyone will be watching that.
August 7th, okay.
But despite that near-term caution, the overall analyst consensus is still actually buy.
Oh, interesting. Even with the flat price target.
Yeah, 32 analysts cover it, and the average rating is buy. But like we said, that target price being so close to the current price, it suggests maybe a cautious buy or a hold stance for many rather than expecting a quick pop. It's a constructive view, but not aggressive.
Gotcha. So looking ahead, what are the big things that could really move the needle for Block stock? Key events, developments?
In the immediate future, it's really all about that Q2 earnings report on August 7th. That's the big catalyst.
Yeah, that'll be crucial.
It'll either confirm the worries about weakness or maybe show some signs of recovery that will set the tone. Longer term, you're looking at things like expansion in their Bitcoin offerings. How does that develop?
Right.
And how do they build out that broader financial ecosystem, especially within Cash App? New features. Also, keep an eye out for potential M&A activity or big new product launches. Fintech and crypto are always moving, right?
Always. Okay, but every investment has risks. What should people really be aware of here? What are the potential downsides with Block?
Absolutely crucial to talk about risks. This raises a few important points. First, stock-specific risks. Those recent earnings misses, the downward revisions, they do point to maybe some execution challenges or maybe broader macro factors hitting them harder than expected.
Oh.
Then there are sector risks, fintech, payments. It's a tough space. You've got constant regulatory attention, fierce competition everywhere, and it's really sensitive to consumer spending. If people pull back, Block feels it.
Makes sense. And the wider economy.
Yeah, macroeconomic risks. That high beta, 2.74, tells you Block is pretty sensitive to market swings or changes in interest rates. It can amplify downturns.
So more vulnerable in a shaky economy. Any positives on the risk side?
Well, liquidity risk seems low. The stock trades a lot, around 10.7 million shares a day on average. So getting in or out usually isn't a problem.
Okay, good to know.
Ah.
So let's try and pull all this together. What does it all mean for someone listening right now thinking about Block?
Yeah, let's distill it. If we were to put an overall rating on it, based on everything, it comes out around a 6.0 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay, how does that break down?
So fundamentals get a 7. You know, solid revenue growth, strong ecosystem, but dragged down a bit by those soft near-term earnings expectations. Valuation gets a 6. It seems reasonable, maybe slightly undervalued compared to some peers, like we said. But the analysts aren't pointing to much immediate upside.
Okay.
Technical score of 5. Kind of mixed signals there. High volatility, and the price is bumping up against resistance levels.
Gotcha. Sentiment.
Sentiment is a 6. Analysts are generally positive, rating it a buy overall, but that lowered consensus for Q2 earnings tempers it a bit.
And
risk is moderate, mostly because of that market volatility linked to the high beta and those recent execution questions.
okay, it's 6 overall. So given that, what's the play here? Is there a specific price point to look for or a type of investor it suits best?
Well, for someone looking for an entry point, maybe waiting for a pullback towards the $68 to $70 range could offer a better risk-reward setup. That's a bit below where it is now, near $72.
So be patient, maybe.
Potentially. Ultimately, Block seems best suited for long-term investors, people with a medium to high tolerance for risk.
People who can handle the ups and downs.
Exactly. Investors who can stomach that short-term volatility and the uncertainty around near-term earnings, because they believe in the long-term potential of that ecosystem.
And for short-term traders.
For traders, I'd say caution is key right now. Definitely watch those technical signals, especially around the August 7th earnings. If you are trading it, maybe consider a stop loss somewhere near $65 to manage the downside risk, given how volatile it is.
Right, protect yourself.
And for taking profits, maybe look towards the $75 to $78 area. That's where it ran into resistance before, near the top of its recent range.
Okay, that makes sense. So wrapping it up, Block seems like a company with, strong bones, good fundamentals, good market position, but it definitely hitting some turbulence short term with earnings and that high volatility. It really sounds like it comes down to your time frame and how much bouncing around you're okay with.
That's a great summary, and it raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to think about. In this world of nonstop market news and sentiment shifts,
Hmm.
How much weight do you put on your long-term belief in a company's vision, its moat, versus reacting to every quarterly earnings number?
Yeah.
What does a mixed picture like this one on Block tell you about your own investing style, your own philosophy?
Hmm. That's definitely something to think about. Great point. Well, thank you for joining us on Investing Talk podcast today. Remember, if you found this useful, please subscribe, like, maybe leave a comment. Let us know what company you'd like us to look at next. And hey, consider buying us that coffee if you're feeling generous. Until next time, keep learning.